Welcome, everyone. Kindly invite your friends and families. Today promises to be interesting. It promises to be educative. We are going to start in the next 5 minutes. And the lecture today is going to be talking about TYF as an organization, as an ideology, and as a philosophy. Kindly invite your friends and families, your brothers and sisters, so that we can properly talk about what Think Yoruba First is all about. A lot of people have intentionally tried to rubbish the ideology of Think Yoruba First. They've been trying for many months. They've been trying for many weeks. They've been trying for many, many years. But we understand what we're talking about, then we will try as much as possible to break it down today as a president of the Think Yoruba First organization, what we stand for and what we propagate. Kindly invite your friends, invite your families. It's time for another time, it's another period to educate ourselves, and we are going to start accordingly. I greet everybody in the name of Olodumare. I greet everybody in the name of the creator of heaven and earth and the universe and Ile-Ife's civilization. On behalf of Think Yoruba First organization, I'm here to speak on behalf of all members and the working executives of Think Yoruba First organization to talk about what the organization was all about. I'll be talking firstly about the history of the organization and how we started. Think Yoruba First organization does not belong to me, Arekurumi. It belongs to all Yoruba people, and it belongs to all Yoruba people within and outside Nigeria. Some years back, a group of intellectuals, ideologues, technocrats of Yoruba origin from across the world came together to create this beautiful organization. We deliberated which name should we use. What is the purpose of this organization? Many of us, we had working relationship on individual levels with several organizations left, right, and center. Many of us had working relationship with Afenifere. We had working relationship with Yoruba Council of Elders. We had working relationship with different groups out there. Because of the passion, because of what we see as a wrath within the Yoruba space, both within and outside Nigeria. We have given back to youth who do not know that we have Yoruba people in Togo. We have youth of Yoruba origin from Togo who do not know that they have Yoruba people. We also have Yoruba people in Benin Republic. We have become a fatherless children. We have become a motherless children. That was why this organization was formed. This organization is in two parts. It is socio-cultural and it is socio-political. It is for all Yorubas, whether you are in APC, PDP, Labour Party, SDP. It is for all Yorubas, whether you are from Burkina Faso, from Togo, from Benin Republic, from Ghana, from Liberia, from Guinea, from Sierra Leone. It is for all Yorubas of Cuba, of Puerto Rico, of United States of America, of Brazil, of Uruguay, of Venezuela, of Ecuador, of Colombia, of Guyana. It is for all Yorubas in Europe, in Asia. This is what Think Yoruba First organization is for. It is to give a voice and to provide a home to protect the interests of the Yoruba people anywhere they are in the world. It is to redefine what Yoruba people are and what is our place in this modern world. The world is becoming very dangerous every day. The world has become extremely dangerous. Brothers and sisters, the world today is different from the world 20 years ago. We live in a period where there is war left, right, and center. The world is no longer stable. We live in a multipolar world order where economic, military, and political influence and power is almost at par from the Eastern Bloc and the Western Bloc. We need to ask ourselves, in a multipolar world, what is the place of the Yoruba people in this world? Every century, the world changes. And I'm going to start between the period of the 15th, 16th century. That was the period of exploration. That was a period that changed the balance of power in the world. That was when the European powers were exploring the days of exploration across the world. That was when they were moving their people to South America, North America, Europe, Asia, Oceania, and Africa. And within 200, 300 years, European powers that used to be at the mercy of the Mongols, of the Ottomans, of the Arabs, all of a sudden became superpowers. And that century laid the foundation of the current hegemony we have in the world. Unfortunately, during this time, even though our ancestors were living in peace, building their own indigenous civilization from the wonderful and beautiful city of Ile-Ife, that was what we did. And I remember vividly the Mali Empire, the Ashanti Empire, the Songhai Empire, the Ghana Empire, the beautiful empires of old in West Africa. But West Africa made a very big mistake. West Africa did not take notice of what was happening in the Middle East. We did not take notice of what was happening in North Africa. We were living carefree. People don't know that the University of Timbuktu was one of the best universities in the world. They were doing astronomy, advanced science, advanced medicine. The question is, how did the University of Timbuktu in the Mali and Songhai Empire, how did it get destroyed? It got destroyed through the kingdom of Morocco. The kingdom of Morocco, ably supported by the English monarchy, came in the 16th century and burnt down and destroyed the University of Timbuktu. The entire professor academics that were building the University of Timbuktu between the 15th and 16th century. And one of the most important ones was Professor Ahmed Baba, that wrote the term Yoruba in his thesis, in his works, in the Mali Empire, then the Songhai Empire. They destroyed the entire intellectual and took all the professors as captives of war to Morocco. That was the end of the intellectualism in West Africa. That was the beginning of the dark period. What I'm telling you in essence is our stride, our civilization, because there was the infusion of intellectualism across the empire, city-states, and kingdoms across West Africa. So we lost that opportunity to also have an idea of what was happening in the world. So we missed a 17th century, we missed the 18th century, we missed the 19th century. We missed the 19th century. So, please, we have to find a way. We have to find a way to ensure that we continue as much as possible to understand that what is happening in the world will surely affect what is happening in West Africa. When ISIS started in the war in the Middle East some years back. I told a lot of friends and comrades and colleagues, I said, what is happening in the Middle East will surely reach Africa. A lot of people said what I'm saying was too much. ISIS has been decapitated, has been destroyed in the Middle East. But as we speak, ISIS has found a new home. ISIS reigns supreme in the Sahel. Nigeria, my nationality, is currently fighting ISIS for the past 5-6 years. You look at Burkina Faso, Central African Republic, Niger, Mali, Mauritania. They've had their own fair share. Northern Ghana, Northern Togo, Northern Benin Republic are also getting hit. And we must not forget that the destruction of the Songhai Empire gave rise to a lot of empires in the 17th, 18th, 19th century that led to the destabilization that happened in the Yoruba country in the 19th century. The destruction of the Songhai Empire led to the successor states, which was built by the Fulanis, like the Tukolo Empire, the Sokoto Caliphate, the Futajalon Empire, the Masina Empire. To the Sokoto Caliphate, imagine from the dust after the brutal takeover of the Hausa city states by the Fulani army, led to a change of the status quo in this part of the world where my people came from. I don't need to come around and tell you about the history of how the Oyo Empire fell and the internal politics that contributed to its destruction. It is true that nations fail, empires are destroyed, kingdoms are destroyed. It is true that nations can go into extinction. But it is also true, before any civilization and empire can be destroyed, there are always internal wrath. There are always internal destruction. There is an element of internal sabotage that happens to any civilization before they finally get destroyed. The Yoruba people have been so lucky that what has destroyed a lot of civilizations, what has swallowed a lot of civilizations, not till now, the Yoruba people are still surviving. That was why we missed close to 34 centuries. We missed the 19th century. In the 20th century, Olodumare was so wonderful to us that he gave us Chief Obafemi Awolowo. He gave us Bode Thomas. He gave us Chief Alakija. He gave us Pa Rewane. He gave us Actor Priest. He gave us Pa Anthony Nauru. He gave us Chief S.L. Lakintola. These beautiful, wonderful elder statesmen. In order to be able to guide the Yoruba people in the reality we find ourselves, we mustn't forget that by the end of the 19th century, this was the age of the rise of the machines in the Western world. The Yoruba people already lost who they are. They lost the essence of who they were. They lost the essence of their identity. We no longer, immediately after the Kiriji War Treaty was signed, we lost our sovereignty as a people. We lost our right as a people. Our reality as a people became lost. Firstly, after the 1884 Berlin West African Conference, then the Kiriji War Treaty. We had Yoruba people that were speaking Germans in Togo, the Yoruba people that started speaking French in Benin Republic, and the Yoruba people that started speaking English in Nigeria. We started having Yoruba people by the end of the 19th century. We had millions of Yoruba people speaking Portuguese in Brazil, another million speaking Spanish in North America and the Caribbean. A lot of our people lost their identity. We became a victim of globalization just because we could not define. We were not able to define our place in the changing world order. There is something that the Asian countries and the European countries have done better. Is that anytime there is a change in the dynamic equilibrium of the world order, they've been able to define their place in those dynamics. But the Yoruba people have not been able to do that. But we had a chance in the 20th century. Like I said, like the elder statesmen, the patriarchs of the Yoruba people that I mentioned earlier, they were able to negotiate. The Yorubas of Nigeria, they were able to negotiate for a better deal for their own people within Nigeria that was created out of the order of the 1914 of the First World War and the Second World War. People don't know that the First World War led to the creation of some countries. The Second World War led to the creation of another country. So anytime there is a chaos in the world, and another order will emerge. And the borders of the world has continues to change. The world border, land borders have continued to change. It's either the borders of a country shrinks or a border of a country expands. We are living in history. We are marching through time. The question I want to ask all of us is, what is our time there? What is even look at Nigeria as a country. What is the position of Nigeria in these changing dynamics? I want to really give it to Nigeria. Nigeria was able to survive the Cold War due to the brilliant diplomats of those periods. Nigeria was the only country where the USSR and the Western Bloc came together to unite, to support them to fight mostly against Biafra. It's very, very rare. If you look at conflicts all across the world, you look at the conflicts that happened in South Africa, conflicts in Mozambique, conflicts in Angola, conflicts in Cuba, in Vietnam, the Soviet bloc, the communist bloc, is always supporting the other side, while the American-led order, which is the Western-led order, always supported the other side. But in the case of the Nigerian Civil War, both the Soviet bloc and the American-led order joined and supported Nigeria against Biafra in the large extent. So Nigeria was a different, and how did Nigeria achieve that? Nigeria achieved that because it had brilliant diplomats. That's the bitter truth. And I'm not here to say maybe the diplomats are Yoruba or Hausa or Fulani or Igbo. That's not why we are here. But we are trying to go through history. And look at currently where we find ourselves. The Yoruba people have found ourselves in a case like something that is currently a phenomenon that is currently happening in the world, which I call in the Western world, which I call the white guilt. What is the white guilt? The white guilt is a scenario, a situation where white people are guilt-tripped all the time. Maybe for things that are true or not true, that are historically true or not historically true. So the white people are always saying that they are the bad people, they are the terrible people. So they must always apologize to the whole world. They must always apologize to some sect. You know, this is the kind of thing, apologize to black people. So the same thing is happening to the Yoruba people. The Yoruba people, due to incessant propaganda, non-stop propaganda, even though we've been the biggest victims of Nigeria. We've been the biggest victims of Nigeria. Our human capital, our capacity has been stored and stocked so that other parts of Nigeria can catch up. That's the bitter truth. The reason for the Agoyin Rossi coup and the unification decree, the reason for the unification decree was very simple. So that other parts of Nigeria can catch up with some other parts of Nigeria. So we knew what this was, so that everybody, unification, the unitary, is that everybody will be on the same stage. And it doesn't work that way. You look at any country in the world, some parts are always more prosperous than other. That is what happens anywhere in the world. Western Germany is more prosperous than Eastern Germany. The southern states in America are more richer, more prosperous than the middle state and the northern states. The eastern part, southeastern part of China is more richer than the northern and the western part of China. We can go around. This is go on and on to explain this phenomenon. That is what happens because human capacity, human potentials are not the same. So we've been in this quagmire in a state where we can no longer even say we are Yoruba again. I remember when we started this campaign, which we call the conservative movement. And I really want to say this. There's a lot. I know a lot of people listening to me. There's a lot of things going on in our minds. There's a lot of things going on in our thoughts. There's a lot of things going on in our subconscious. That what exactly does Think Yoruba First stands for? I know people have been shown, have been called, people who go everywhere every day, saying all sorts of defamatory things against us, lying against us, coming to know. Sometimes you wonder, how can people with brains be engaging people you never knew in your life, in people you've never met in your life, just because they don't like your face, they don't like what you're doing, they wish they are the ones doing what you're doing, they want to destroy anything you're doing. And I can understand the pains of people that said Nigeria is like a Tower of Babel. They have had enough of some people trying to bring it up and some people trying to take it down. Let me tell you something. The current situation of Nigeria is not because Nigeria does not lack the human capacity. It's not because Nigeria does not lack, it's not because Nigeria lacks human capacity or Nigeria lacks the resources. Nigeria has many potentials. But Nigeria lacks one thing. And what does Nigeria lacks? Nigeria is not organized. Nigeria is not organized. This chaotic system, this chaotic and anarchist kind of system only works for people who want to grow rich overnight, only works in a feudal system, only works in where people that want to build empires. If you really want to build empire, you need to create a chaotic system. A country that is organized, a country that is well organized, delineated, is going to be stable, is going to be defined, and is going to achieve its potentials. Nigeria lacks all this reality. The question is, who wrote the Nigerian Constitution? We know it was the military that wrote the Nigerian Constitution. Who created Nigerian states? It was the military that created the Nigerian states. Who created Nigerian local governments? It was the military that created the Nigerian local government. Who created the means of resource sharing, revenue, productivity? It was done by the military. It was never done by the Nigerian people. The only time Nigeria had the chance to determine, Nigerians have the chance to determine their destiny, to determine their future, was the negotiations that took place, the constitutional conferences, Wilkins Commission, McPherson Constitution, Richards Constitution, all these constitutions, where every constituent members, ethnic nations that made up Nigeria fought for their own rights within Nigeria. Nigeria was never a melting pot. It was a combination of different ethnic nations. It was a union. Nigeria is a union of ethnic nations. And everybody, it's an amalgamation of civilization. The intention to create Nigeria was not to destroy indigenous African civilization. It was never. The founding fathers, when we talk about the founding fathers, the first political figures from the east, west, north, middle belt, Niger Delta, during that time, they've always wanted their people to be preserved within Nigeria. So when we are in this, we find ourselves in this situation. The question is, what exactly, how is Nigeria currently structured? And where are we headed? What is the status of the Yoruba people? That is why the concept of Yoruba Ronu came from late Chief Abatogunde. Like, Yoruba people need to think. We need to think about why are we in Nigeria? We cannot continue to practice individualism at the expense of the collective. I must not lie to you. The most difficult people to work with, the most difficult people to fight for are the Yoruba people, because we are opinionated people. That's the bitter truth. And when we talk about the Yoruba people, I have called Chief Obafemi Awolowo as the father of the modern Yoruba nation. The Yoruba people, the Yoruba identity, is a super ethnicity, a meta ethnicity, as we currently have, was done. That job was done by Chief Obafemi Awolowo. I categorize Chief Obafemi Awolowo in the same status as Otto von Bismarck, what he did for the Germans, where he united the Germanic tribes that are largely Catholics to create the modern day Germany. The same thing Chief Obafemi Awolowo did. Go and read his book. It was written black and white, legibly. One of his vows, his goals and objective, that the Yoruba people, the different Ife descent of all the Ife groups, any group has linguistic similarity with the Yoruba people, that is linguistic similarity from the Ife stock, and have the same traditional system and descended from Ile Ife, that they must come together to form a united, solid block within the context of Nigeria, so that we can have a chance of survival. Chief Obafemi Awolowo saw Nigeria for what it is. The man is more than a prophet. I call him a seer, because he saw what other people did not see. And unfortunately, because he had a lot of internal sabotage, he could not complete his mission for the Yoruba people, and he could not complete his mission for Nigeria. Everything the man said came to pass. And we have to understand that the unity, any form of pan-Yoruba unity, has always been seen as a threat by other ethnic groups in Nigeria. It's on record, written record, in the books of Chief Obafemi Awolowo and other political and historical commentators, that one of the vows that Nnamdi Azikiwe made was that he was going to destroy Egbe Omoduduwa, which was the umbrella that gave the Yoruba people a place to come together as a united bloc. Meanwhile, the same Azikiwe was the president of the Igbo Federal Union, a core Igbo nationalist that was hell-bent in destroying any form of Igbo or any form of Yoruba nationalism. But you cannot blame them, because what I've learned to do, and what we in Think Yoruba First we've learned to do, is to have a form of internal introspection. You do not give people the chance to destroy you. If you give people the chance to destroy you, it is your fault, not their fault that you are destroyed. So that was one of the reasons we look at what is around. Who is speaking for the Yoruba people of Benin Republic? You don't even have any form of socio-cultural affinity. As people that have traveled across the world, we see Jewish community, the Indian community, we see the Chinese community. Even though some people brag the Yoruba people are more than 100 million people around the world. But you can be more than 100 million people around the world and you can be useless, because there is no form, our ethnogenesis, our socio-political maturity, Our socio-cultural maturity has been destroyed, has been distorted. We understand. I don't want to go back into what happened to our people in the First Republic, Second Republic, Third Republic, in this Fourth Republic. That is why the like minds have come together to do what we can do for our people. You think Yoruba Force is not, organization is not working in isolation. We are working with Obas, our Obas. We are working with some of our political leaders. We are working with technocrats. We talk to governments, embassies of the world. It's a home for everybody of diverse opinions, diverse ideology. In as much you want the progress of the Yoruba people. It's not been an easy job. What if you really want to do this? Like it doesn't matter. You don't need to come to think Yoruba first. In your organization, you can also do it. Because this job, we cannot do it alone. Think Yoruba First cannot do this job alone. Like you don't want the Yoruba people to suffer. You want to bring back Awoism. You want to destroy feudalism. You want to destroy division within the ranks. You want to protect Yoruba land and hand over Yoruba land to our the coming generation. You are going to work hard. It requires discipline. It requires effort. It requires being focused. You are going to spend your money. You are going to go broke. You are going to be shamed. You are going to be defamed. You are going to be persecuted. You are going to be lied against. You are going to be stoned. The people you are fighting for will ask you, who asked you to do this for us? This is the reality you will face. People are not going to accept what you're saying. I remember when we started, they will come on stage, call us all sorts of names. We are secessionists. Even though we put it out there, we are a socio-cultural, socio-political organization, modeled like the Egbe Moduduwa of old. This is what we are doing in TYF. We promote Yoruba culture. We unite Yoruba people both home and abroad. We empower our people due to the limited resources we have. We lobby the state actors through legal ways in order to be able to defend our people. We fight for the right of our people within the armpits of the law. This is what we stand for. As simple as what I've stated is, it's one of the most difficult tasks we can do in our lives. But we will continue to move on. We are not a secessionist organization. I have told a lot of people I made a lot of enemies. I was attacked. TYF was defamed. We were labeled all sorts of terrible names. Some people call us APC thieves. They said we've collected money. They said we've sold out. They said we are anti-people. They said we are arrogant. There's nothing they didn't say. There's some, to call us, to paint us bad. TYF will surely participate within the political process of all countries we are in the world. And let me tell you something. My message, I want to speak to the heart, because I will be very, very stupid. I have done this in private, and I will do it again. You can record this conversation, take it to where you want to take it to, and insult me as usual. But I want to speak to the heart of Yoruba nation self-determinationists. Brothers and sisters, you are my brother, you are my sisters. But I want you to know that any agenda you want to run, you need to look at the geopolitical reality of the world. The geopolitical reality of the world does not support the redrawing of the borders of Africa. The geopolitical reality of the world. I am not going to come here to tell you whether what you are doing is humane or not, whether what you are doing is not moral or not. I am not here to tell you that. I am here to speak to you as someone who sincerely understands what you are fighting for. But I am a realist, not an idealist. We in TYF, we are realists, not an idealist. The Kurdish people have been fighting for self-determination for the past 1,000 years. The Tigray people went to war with the state of Ethiopia. The population of the Tigray people was 6 million by 2020. By the end of the war in 2021, the population of the Tigray people became 1.5 billion. Tigray people were killed. I have Tigray friends. I cried with them. I attended some of their march pasts in Germany, in Portugal, in Europe. And I saw it firsthand. They are our friends who are Tigrayans. That's why you have to understand, we cannot use emotions to destroy the lives of our people. We cannot use emotions to destroy the lives of our people. It is not the right time to geopolitically engage, go through this manner. It is not the right time. The powers that be, we have to understand that it is not the right time to say you want to break Nigeria at all costs. You do not have the fighter jets. You do not have the ammunitions. You do not have the guns. You do not have the financial resources. You do not have the diplomatic power to do that. I know I'm going to receive a lot of calls, a lot of threats for what I'm saying. But we have to tell ourselves the truth. Brothers and sisters, I love you. I do not want a single Yoruba boy or girl, a man or woman to be killed. I do not want it. Some people are saying, maybe so the time you also supported self-determination. But I'm a realist. You need to consult. You need to look at the reality we face. For we wrestle against not flesh and blood, but principalities and powers and wickedness in high places. And the Yoruba people is the custodian of the greatest indigenous black civilization. If you do not know, the indigenous black civilization, which is the Kushite, the Nilotic civilization of North Africa, has been wiped out due to the Arab invasion in the 7th, 8th century. The indigenous Southern African civilization has been wiped out also. The only form of civilization that is still standing, that is still very powerful, you are still going to find them in West Africa. And the Yoruba people, Yoruba civilization is part of them. We live in an age of civilization wars. This is the situation we found ourselves. And we need to be able to talk sense into ourselves. We need to be able to tell ourselves the truth. Brothers and sisters, please, you cannot redefine the borders. We cannot undo the 1884 Berlin West African conferences by March past and ordinary diplomacy. No. That is why we all need to work together. Whether you are Yoruba self-determination, you are Yoruba One Nigeria, you are Yoruba of One Benin Republic, so that we do not waste the lives of our people. I'm prostrating. Don't abuse me. Don't curse me. I'm only saying the truth. We can find a way. So that is why I don't even insult people that say they want regional system of government. I won't do that again. And I will never do that again. Because at least we can have like a Scotland within the United Kingdom. That looks like a fair deal. We can have a restructured Nigeria where we can promote what exactly we can protect our land, our identity, our boundaries, our ancestry. We can use our resources to grow. We can be protected within our space. That looks like a fair deal. But for you to withdraw the Berlin West African Conference to undo what the powers that be have done, we are going to be putting the lives of over 100 million Yorubas at risk. Don't forget, Cuba has been in a state of economic sanction for the past 50 years. As at a few months ago, close to 115 countries voted against the US sanction. Just one American American. Just one American vote vetoed and destroyed the entire thing. The entire vote of the entire world. The world is not fair. The world is not a fair place. Nobody is going to listen to you. Oh, we are in poverty. They are killing us. That is not the reason why anybody is going to help you. It's all about interests. So we found ourselves in a very, very terrible situation. The other question we also need to ask ourselves, so brothers and sisters, let us engage the process as peaceful people. As peaceful people. I know we are angry. Let us engage the system. Let us learn patience and engage peaceably with the system. Forget what all the rubbish, any nonsense anybody is saying. I want to say this today. And it pains me that the way we are engaged, the way Nigerians, especially people that we think we know, people that in their 30s and their 40s and 50s, the way they conceptualize ideologies and speak their minds, it's so unfortunate. I'm going to tell you what I mean. Those people you called IPOB, secessionists, Boko Haram, many of them at one point at a time recited the national anthem. Many of them at one point in their life said, I'm a proud Nigerian. Many of them at a point in their time, in their life, they've pledged to Nigeria. But the reality is we should ask ourselves what went wrong. We cannot continue to say, oh, it's a bigot, oh, it's a tribalist, oh, it's a secessionist. That is not how you solve problems. Because Nigeria is not an organic identity. No matter the number of people you kill, no matter the number of blood you spill, no matter the number of guns you buy, no matter the number of bullets you buy, you are going to kill as many people as possible and use bullets to kill and turn Nigeria to a majority. One ethnic group will dominate the rest before you can have any form of stability. And that is impossible. You can't achieve that in the next 300 years. That one is extremely certain. So you need to ask yourself, what do we do? That's why I'll be speaking the ideals of Lee Kuan Yew. That in a country like Nigeria, you need to negotiate the unity. It needs to be negotiated. It needs to be negotiated so that we can buy more books instead of buying more bullets. So that we can buy more books and instead of buying more bullets. People like us supported, I will say this publicly, I supported Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu because he understands the fundamentals of federalism. I did not start supporting him today, but based on his antecedents, that he understands Awolowo, he understands the federalism, he understands what to do to fix Nigeria. If he does it, he's going to spare the lives of millions of people, both born and unborn. If he doesn't do it, the blood of many people will be on his neck, because that is what to do to save Nigeria. These are the ideals and values that Think Yoruba First stands for. We preach the Omoluabi philosophy, we preach Awoism, and we even coined another word called Yorubanism. It was coined by one of our people, one of our brothers, who is a sociologist. His name is Comrade Olanrewaju, who coined the term Yorubanism some years back. Because what went into Think Yoruba First, what went into it is a lot of thought process, ideological deliberations, in order to be able to have to preach this message. Because while we were doing this, and we saw 2023 election unfold, where Yoruba people, Yoruba youth were bullied to be ashamed of being Yoruba, is something that should never happen again. It's something we should never see again. And the funniest thing is this: 90% of our people that have become extremely aggressive in protecting and defending their Yoruba identity today, 90% of them voted for Peter Obi. 90%, they are in the audience. Some of them are even on stage. They used to curse us, they used to abuse us. But the nature revealed the reality to them that what TYF has been preaching, has been saying is true. So we are saying this, brothers and sisters. We have a socio-political, socio-cultural organization where we try as much as possible to be the voice of the voiceless Yoruba people all around the world. Now, this takes me to the next, my next conversation. Yoruba people are a very unique people in the world. We are the only people that have almost the same equal number of Christians and Muslims in the world. And we are from the same ethnicity, ethnic stock. There is a strange phenomenon that is currently happening. If you go to Facebook and Twitter and the TikTok, there is a shameful thing going on. Or you go to YouTube, where Yoruba Muslims, Yoruba Christians, Yoruba traditionalists are currently threatening war on themselves. We've seen a particular Oba, Oluwo of Iwo, that has turned himself to an agent of destabilization in Yoruba land. We are still grasping with the reality that how can Ilorin, a majority Yoruba city, an historic Yoruba city, the Yoruba people there, they just keep quiet. It is when you go to them personally and say, who are you? They say, I'm Yoruba. And the minority element are going about having a field day, saying all sorts of rubbish and rewriting the story, rewriting the Yoruba history of that space. There's a lot of abnormality that has crept into Yoruba land. And how did we get here? There is a lot of social re-engineering that is coming in. Many of us saw the damage, how Peter Obi weaponized Christianity against the Yoruba race in order to get Yoruba votes in the last election in 2023. That's the reality we need to face. Do you think Peter Obi would have been successful if Awolowo was alive? It's impossible. Do you think Peter Obi would have been successful if Bola Ige was alive? That is impossible. Do you think Peter Obi would have been successful if Chief S.L. Akintola was alive? That is impossible. How did Peter Obi, how was he able to succeed? Now we are seeing situation where somebody that calls himself Mufti Wo insults the Ooni of Ife, says that Yoruba chief Muslims should be trained how to use the gun. He said it. I'm not lying against him. We have the copies of his speech. Do you know why this is happening? It's because Yoruba currency in Yoruba land has been watered down. What unites the Yoruba people? What unites the Yoruba people? It is the Yoruba currency. It is the Yoruba identity. It is what unites us. The reason why Yoruba Muslims and Christians are not killing themselves is not because they are good Nigerians. That's not true. The reason why Yoruba Christians and Muslims are not slaughtering themselves and that they are still intermarrying and marrying themselves, living as brothers and sisters, is not because they are patriotic Nigerians or the National Orientation Agency in Nigeria is doing a good job. That's a big lie. Even though we are religiously diverse, highly diverse religiously, our region remains the most politically and economically stable in the whole of Sub-Saharan region of Africa. How did we achieve that? We achieved that because of the Yorubaness that unites us. That Yorubaness is what is being attacked by other ethnic nations within Nigeria, intentionally, aggressively, and ignorantly. Nigerians don't have a problem if you're a good Muslim. Nigerians don't have a problem if you're a born-again Christian. They will clap for you. But if you say, I am a bona fide and proud Yoruba man, they say, he's a bigot. Can't you see that something is wrong? Now, I'm now going to use a good example of a particular Hausa Fulani influencer on X. His name is Saki. I'm not trying to defame him, but I'm trying to let you see how how they think. Saki believes that it is good for Islam to dominate Southeast. And Saki comes to the public to say he's a proud Nigerian. Now, how can you say you're a patriotic Nigerian and what you do is to be promoting the supremacy of a religion when Nigeria is not a theocratic state on a particular region that is historically hostile due to the history of Nigeria to your region? I saw a lot of people commenting under that thing, and he was liking it and all the rest. Now, I'm not here to attack Islam. There was a particular guy, also a Southeasterner, some months back that said Islam must not be allowed to get to the East. Now, when you look at this polarity, these extreme views you have, that will make you understand what Nigeria is all about. And the same Saka saying, oh, these people are bigots, they are Islamophobic. He does not understand that Nigeria is a clash of civilization. He doesn't understand these fundamentals. He doesn't understand that you cannot enforce, you cannot preach Nigerian unity. You negotiate it. Let me tell you what the military people did. All the time, what the Nigerian military did throughout their time in government is to use gun and bullets to keep Nigeria as one and silenced everybody. That's what the military did. They didn't build the economy. They didn't do anything special. They didn't build any human capacity. Nothing whatsoever. They just used guns and bullets, boots on ground, in order to ensure that everybody will remain to maintain the status quo. But we have an opportunity under the democratic regime. Now, that opportunity under a democratic regime, what have we gained from it? That was why a lot of sociologists have been saying, look, this thing is not working. This Nigeria is not working because of the constitution we use, because of the reality we face. And like now, let me now go back to the Yoruba people. The Yoruba people, without your Yoruba identity, you will become spoils of politics, spoil of war within Nigeria. Politics is war without bloodshed. War is politics with bloodshed. How are you going to claim? Some people want Nigeria to be a Christian Muslim country. They've been pushing that ideology, that identity, that reality for a long time. There is nothing called one north. It's all lies. That one north was built on Sunni Islam, which is the Hausa Fulani Kanuri political bloc. These are the three political blocks built on Sunni Islam. So a Fulani man cannot afford to show his Fulaniness too much. He is going to lose politically in the north, even within Nigeria, because he does not have the numbers. If the Hausa people show their Hausa-ness as a political currency within Nigeria, the Fulani people will become relegated in the scheme of affairs in the core north. So in order to keep a form of stability internally, Islam needs to unite those places. Now you look at the Kanuri. How can the Kanuri be relevant and use the core north as a currency? He also needs to dilute his Kanuriness, his Kanuri identity, subsume it under the Islamic identity. The question many of you will be asking me today, that how can people subsume their ethnic identity under a religious identity for political conquest and political advantage? That was how the empires of old were built. Go and look at the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Empire had more Arabs in it than Turks. But how are the Turks able to keep the Greeks, a lot of the Albanians, a lot of these people within the Ottoman Empire? It was because they used more of the Islamic identity. Now, so that works for them. So when you see the way you see Saki or this formal aide of Buhari spokesperson, especially media aide, Bashir, the way they promote Islam, that's the way a proper Yoruba man should promote Yoruba identity. So what Islam will give them at the table in Nigeria is what your Yoruba identity will give you within Nigeria. So you look at Plateau, you look at Benue. Why should a thief man and a bureau man come together to work politically for an agenda? Or the Jamba man, Juku man in Taraba, Middle Belt ideology and Christianity. And Christianity. And Christianity. So that is how they've been able to come together as a united bloc. So you look at the Igbos. What Peter Obi did was very, very smart. He relegated his Igbo-ness and promoted the church. So because his Igbo-ness, his Igbo identity cannot open door in Taraba, in Nasarawa, in Plateau, in Southern Borno, in Adamawa, in all those places, in Southern Kaduna. But Christianity as a currency that is already being used. That's why they key into the South and the Middle Belt. Because there's a form of ethnogenesis that has happened in the Niger Delta and the Middle Belt. And a kind of unity because of the Christian faith. Now, how can Christian identity also be used to be on top and ethnic identity be put under? Yes. In the Holy Roman Empire, which was led by the Pope in the Middle Ages, it was the Catholicism, Catholic identity, Christian identity that was used as the political currency. Even in ancient British Empire, United Kingdom, when United Kingdom became Anglican Protestants, one of the reasons why they could not subjugate the Irish was that the Irish refused to give up their Catholic faith as a form of resistance against British domination of their lands. But you see how, so the Igbos don't have a problem in Nigeria when it comes to ethnicity. But Nigeria has so much, every coup d'etat, tribalism. We must destroy tribalism. I'm trying to tell, brothers and sisters, I'm trying to tell you how we got here and how many people started relegating and neutralizing their Yoruba-ness. How many, why many Yoruba parents started not to teach their children Yoruba language anymore. So this is where we're going. So because of this, a lot of Yoruba people became too ashamed of their Yoruba identity. Meanwhile, Yoruba is a civilization state on its own. It's a powerful civilization state on its own. And Chief Obafemi Awolowo was quickly able to overcome those hurdles to build what the current political elites are currently enjoying, which they are becoming highly responsible to take note of what is happening within Nigeria. That's why some people believe, oh, brothers in Christ is more important than tribe. The Imam, brothers in Islamic brotherhood is more important than ethnicity. So waging a war against ethnic solidarity and identity, consciousness, is like waging a war against the entire Yoruba race within Nigeria. I hope I'm making sense. If anybody says we want to destroy tribalism, ethnic identity, it's like saying they want to wage war against Islam and Christianity. You as a Yoruba man, you should walk away from such talks. Let me tell you why. Do you know why you are relevant within Nigeria? You are relevant within Nigeria is because you are part of the Wasobia. If any politician is listening to me today, you are relevant. You can boast in Abuja. You can boast of having any form of power. You can negotiate and say, Nilokan, because you have the voting bloc. You have the numerical strength within Nigeria. And that numerical strength is not coming from Muslims alone or coming from Christians alone. It is coming from both Yoruba Christians and Yoruba Muslims. It's coming from both those groups and Yoruba traditionalists. So for you to be able to survive politically in Nigeria, the Yoruba Christians, the Yoruba Muslims, the Yoruba traditionalists must be at peace amongst themselves. This is common sense. You take your politics extremely serious. But we've seen, that's why it is not the fault of, you see somebody, the Southeast, trying to water down and attack our own identity. The world is a jungle. The world is a jungle. The world is not, Nigeria does not practice politics, Nigeria practices geopolitics. And in geopolitics, you don't take prisoners. In geopolitics, you don't take prisoners. So why are you blaming Igbos that are part of the Wasobia that are also looking to control the center? Now, so many of us are saying, let us do restructuring so that the center will not be do or die. Everybody wants to win. Yoruba people say, Areyin ni Jawa. You can bite, you can cheat, just get it done. And propaganda is also part of, it's an art of war, it's part of warfare. You saw somebody like GRV, who was openly insulting and denigrating and defaming the Yoruba identity so that he can get votes from non-Yoruba residents in Lagos State. Now he has seen that has not worked. Now he has retraced himself to start using the Yoruba currency. Even though he doesn't think in Yoruba, but he's trying to now change like a chameleon to be able to use that currency. Before, he was always praising Azikwe and Ojuku and Abamakoli. All of a sudden, he started praising Awolowo. It doesn't mean all those things. Even Awolowo has become a currency in Yoruba land. We have two political currencies in Yoruba land. Just come out and say, I am an Awoist. Awolowo, raise your two fingers up. You use it to get some votes. Another example of another currency is, Yoruba local. Yoruba local. That's another currency. Those are the two currencies in Yoruba land. So if you bring any nonsense, Yoruba, then Assalamu alaikum, we will send you out. Because we don't roll that way in Yoruba land. Now the question is, the people that are using Awolowo as a currency in Yoruba politics, are they Awoists? We need to ask ourselves that question. The people that say they are Yoruba, is it that when Ooni of Ife is being insulted, the next thing they'll be saying is, check your DM. They will even be able to defend their heritage. They will be clapping for Pidom when Pidom is defending the Pope. The Ooni of Ife is the Pope of Yoruba land, if you don't know. The position of the Ooni of Ife is equivalent to the Pope of anything Yoruba spirituality, and the spiritual controls the physical. The spiritual controls the physical. That is how powerful it is. So when you look at this reality, that is why we are in Think Yoruba First organization. This is why it is so important. Look, let me tell you something. Most of the things that makes Nigeria great is because of Yoruba culture. Our music, our dancing, our Owambe. That is what makes Nigeria great. That is one of the things that makes Nigeria unique. So to some extent, even the other ethnicities are complaining about the soft power of the Yoruba people. We built this country. We fought for the unity of Nigeria. Hundreds of thousands of Yoruba soldiers died to preserve the unity of Nigeria. That's why I told someone, we are not going to run away from this country. We are stakeholders. The Yoruba people have never declared war against Nigeria. So why should we run away from them? Nigeria. And what are we doing that is making us feel bad? Look, let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. Ìran tí ò bá ti ṣe groupnomics, tí ò aggregate, tí ò lo group power, ó máa ṣerú àwọn ìran tán bá aggregate tán dẹ̀ lo group power ni. All this nonsense that they are buying our land, they are they are taking over our politics, our jobs, is because we have been destroyed. Our family unit, communal unit has been destroyed. Agbole system wa ti dàrú. It's because we are not practicing groupnomics anymore.